And we're back for the Natty Bodybuilding Radio Podcast with myself, Robert Waterhouse, Bob Waterhouse, and
Pro Aeronn Bevan.
that was pretty close to a normal intro.
You think because we're so good at podcasts and we've done so many that you would be able to intro it by now, but still no. Still don't know.
I could do it flawlessly like first time, but I like it to be a bit rubbish every week.
Yeah. Do you know the name of the podcast, or is this like a QE joke? You know, like when QE didn't get the joke that we made a joke. Your
actual podcast is called Natty Muscle Radio, yeah? Yeah. I liked it to be almost a bit of a play on words between natural bodybuilding worldwide.
Yes.
Bodybuilding without borders, and that's just an Instagram page. Yeah, I think they put on it once. Just saying.
No, not your bodybuilding royalty or anything like that.
No, indeed. Right. Housekeeping first.
No, sorry. No, go on. Housekeeping. Yeah, I'll catch you in a minute.
What beverages are you drinking this week?
Wow, we didn't even talk about this pre-podcast, but I am actually on the Bolero.
No way! Wow.
Yeah.
Check this out. And before you ask, no, that isn't a pint of Tetley's. That is a blended lemon iced tea Bolero.
Wow.
As seen on the part. I'm not sponsored. If I do get sponsorship, that'd be great. But that's an actual. So I didn't realize after buying like 20,000 different flavors.
Yeah.
Is that some of them are actually iced tea ones and some of them are just normal ones. So if you like iced tea, you have to buy the iced tea version. So the one you've got, which is the strawberry banana in your shaker right now.
It was a small sachet.
Yeah, hold it up.
In the bin. Here.
Yeah, that's strawberry banana. Yeah, bulk powder can do one.
Does look like you're drinking.
That's just original, but that's actually pretty incredible that's close to iced tea, calorie free.
I'm not about iced tea. I'm not sure about iced tea.
I'm not, but then have one of these.
All right. To be fair, you drink sweetened piss if you're hungry on prep. It doesn't really matter, does it?
True.
Here's some great sweetened piss, 0 calories. You want to drink it? Yes.
Yes, definitely. I'll have that. I was saying this to Claire. When did I say this to you today, of all days? That don't you wish that everything could just taste all year round like it does on prep? Yes. No plug or anything, but AGF carrot cake.
Sorry, I didn't see that was an AGF t-shirt. I just seen your pecs and how full they are.
I don't think you've even got the logo on the front. That's why. There you go on the side there.
Yeah, it's kind of indented because your pecs are so wide and full.
Let me just always this out for you. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Better.
All the muscle worship bros and smalls will be messaging now, and we can set up an OnlyFans, and it'll be great.
I keep getting that advert plug up on my Insta story though of the 6 different T-shirts all cut like this. Like order now, like $5.99. So I sent it to Joey Swole, or AKA James Poyer, in the week, saying he's like, "Yeah, just need to get a swoop neck in pink, and that'd be optimal."
Yeah. Go on, you're about AGF.
I said AGF, so obviously you've probably seen it's been doing the rounds this week. Is the new carrot cake flavour?
Yes.
Which, to be fair, without plugging it, if you're skeptical about whether it's carrot cakey or not, he's done very well with the formulation of flavours on that. So if you like carrot cake, it's an absolute must.
Yeah, spoke to Chris Edge. Chris Edge has got some. He raves about it. He said it was good. So I think I'll have to make a purchase.
Yeah. But as I said, don't want to ruin it. But is it does it taste that good because I'm on prep, or is
that's for everything, isn't it? Because I've got some ISO surge at the moment, and I'm certain when I had it on prep, I was like, oh, I've got like oats now because it's got my favourite flavoured whey in it. And now when I have it, I'm like, probably rather have a kebab or a burger. That would be fine. Same macros.
We did just do that on Diametize 100, the chocolate one. When I first started using that back in 2009, me and Darren used to like savour every mouthful. We used to get one scoop after training. So after the show, bearing in mind I'd eaten like 6 crunchies and 4 Air bars by this time I'd finished the show. On the way home in the minibus, I made myself 3 scoops of protein powder and 3 scoops of oats. Yeah. And I was like, this is rubbish. This tastes worth thinking. Because my taste buds have been ruined by all the Maltesers and all the crunchies that I'd had.
Well, actually, it was after the Welsh last year. Cara had bought me fresh Marks and Spencer's single chocolate cookies.
It just come out the oven.
A fish, like news just come out the oven. And they didn't last. Like I come off stage after lightweights, come out to watch middleweights, and I'm pretty sure by the time the heavies were on, there was no cookies left. So they didn't last very long.
Yeah, but you haven't really had a cookie unless you've been to Ben's Cookies, and you've had Uncle Ben serve you your cookies himself. So Oxford undercovered market, if you've been, that's where I think there's one in London as well.
Yeah.
Where else did we go where we saw them? Is that in like Paris or something? Ben's, I don't know where it was.
Ben's Cookies, Ben's Cookies is about, isn't it? It's all around London as well.
We went somewhere and I was like, there's fucking Ben's Cookies here. What's that doing here? Someone like, and yeah, on that subject of like really nice stuff. What's the, why don't they have Cinnabon over here?
Yeah. Also, I could list many, many places in America that could be here and are not, and it bothers us. So, Cinnabon, yes. IHOP.
Amazing.
IHOP.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Just, I mean, I'd like go when we're both in off season. We're going up to, we're doing the trinity of, we're going T-Bays, right?
And
Scotland T-Bays. Rear T-Bays, yeah, on the way to Scotland. But then instead of taking the quick route across to Perth, we're stopping at Glasgow because we're going Denny's. Okay. Because we've got Denny's in Glasgow, and it's great. It's identical to American Denny's.
That's good.
Yeah, it's really good. So we're doing that.
We had one in Dubai, and I was very impressed, actually. I was thinking, it's going to be a cheap, crappy breakfast place.
Right.
But it really wasn't.
Yeah, it's good.
I had a breakfast. I had, beef bacon, because Dubai.
Oh, yeah.
You know what pork is, which is actually, it was pretty good. I kept thinking, what's this beef bacon? Like, what is it? And then I was realised, yeah, of course. And it's actually pretty nice, to be fair.
To be fair, if you just take a fatty meat, and fry it enough and put enough salt on it, it could be bacon. It really doesn't matter, does it?
Well, I say this, but we used to order from Muscle Meat, which is not Muscle Foods. And they used to do turkey bacon, but it literally was a massive breast of turkey, and then they slice it, dry cure it, and bring it in the slice of pack, and that was incredible.
Speaking of things that America have that we don't have, as well as restaurants, shit like turkey bacon, like not needing a mortgage to buy that. Like in the UK, if you go and buy egg whites in a supermarket or turkey bacon, you're taking out a loan weekly to do it. Which is like turkey bacon in the supermarket in the States.
Madison's turkey bacon is rubbish compared to the.
Total bullshit. Like, yeah.
I think I put it on people's diet plans at one point because it was like, well, it's pretty good. It's basically bacon, bacon and eggs, and then you're like, nah. Just buy the real thing. So
hopefully no one from immigration is watching this. But I tried to smuggle in some raw turkey bacon from the States on one of our vacations and panicked at customs and just binned it. I just had visions of like sniffer dogs finding these turkey bacon and me being locked up. The man tries to bring turkey bacon into UK and doing 7 years. Apparently,
what happened?
Apparently, then. Oh, okay, funny, important, funny stuff. Also, by the way, NMR 17 featuring Cara Bonin, it would seem, this week. So cheers for that. Funny story, since we're on America as well, is we never got. So I bought Animal Flex actually.
Okay. Yeah.
And
for all you out there who don't know what Animal Flex is. Wow, it's a flex. Animal Flex, as in the flex joint support, right?
Yes, Animal Flex joint support.
Yes.
One of my favourite supplements at the moment. Tastes good. Good dose of turmeric, we think, because we decided it's actually got proprietary blend, but it's probably got a good dose of turmeric because it's yellow.
But it's orange, so it must be.
Yeah, no. But it's a good supplement anyway. So I stocked up on some in LA and took it with me. We went to San Francisco after that, and then we were flying out of San Francisco. Long story short, the Animal Flex powder set off the, the little thing that the wipe your hands with and then put in a reader when you go through customs. It set that off. So it's like, so will you just wait here for me, please? I was like, okay. We were already a bit late to the airport by this point, by the way, and so we were waiting, and and they said, so we have to get a bomb expert because it set off the explosive sort of thing.
Wow.
Waiting, and yeah, the guy come along. He was pretty cool actually. He seen it was a supplement, and he was like, okay, right, yeah. He explained who he was and said, look, sometimes powders can set off, the kind of. So he did another test and he spoke to me and he knew it was fine. But yeah, we nearly missed our flight. Like ran to catch his flight in San Francisco because of Animal Flex setting off the bomb detector. So
jokes.
Don't do that.
We always arrive late to the airport. Always.
Yeah.
We went to Dubai and we decided for whatever reason that we'd leave a little bit later because we didn't really want to get up that early.
Yeah.
And then there was a massive panic, the fact that, you booked the airport parking and it was like 25 minutes away in like a lost car park. So when we actually got there, this guy basically saved our lives and let us park in the car park, which was like 40 quid a day.
Yeah.
I just basically blagged it and said, look, I've been all the way over to the other car park, can't find it. My flight's leaving soon. And he's like, all right, yeah, I'll just radio through. So then he let us park in that one on our prepaid ticket for like 40 quid for the week. So then when I got off the plane, my car was basically like in the first car park waiting for us. So
always a space for Bobby.
Always a space for Bobby. Yes. It's what is it? What would be the it's a skill I have, isn't it? It's a skill.
It is a skill. Like you can rock up to Ultraflex, which as Ultraflex Rotherham, as much as it's one of our favourite gyms to ever train in, it's also the worst gym to park at. But you turn up every time and take the spot right at the entrance. Anywhere we go, doesn't matter.
Every time.
Yeah, UK FBA finals.
It's the law of attraction. I just always visualize me parking there every time that I go somewhere and think I'll always get a space and never a problem.
Yeah.
Where it's like, club like, oh, I don't know if we're gonna get space when we're parking, and I just rock up and just I'm here, I'm in space.
Yeah. Lying down in your car.
Yeah. That position.
Yeah.
Anything to report this week? Are you trained today?
Yes, so we had Daniel North down in the Hobbit Hole.
Yeah.
Hole. So we blasted chest, which was good. Incline barbell. Then we did incline pin presses, because you've got me on them now. They're my faves. And then we did the banded floor presses, but we only had the yellow band, but they still do the job. And then flies, and then a little bit of biceps and triceps to finish off, because need that. But more importantly, I got to see them. Got to see the guys pose, so that was good.
Good.
Yep. Both Dan and Chris are looking sharp. So if you're planning on doing lights at BNBF British Finals this year, you better bring your A game, because there's a couple of little hobbits who bringing theirs.
The Natty 212 class. Gonna call
the
that.
Natty 212 class. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So they look great. We know the preps have both been very good, very optimal. They both did an optimal mini diet last year and did it well. So as you know, being Chris Edge's coach, you've been able to keep his food super high and not have to really push or anything until maybe kind of get into that now, because I've seen his diet changes and a little bit more structured and stuff like that, because we're 10 weeks to British Finals, I think, something like that, this weekend.
10 weeks today.
10 weeks today. Shit. 10 weeks yesterday for those watching it. So if anyone's watching this on the Monday night, whatever you do not use our podcast as the method of as your calendar. Yeah,
definitely don't do that. This is pre-podcast time. So something I was gonna say. Oh yeah, isn't there supposed to be some bodybuilding expo the day before at the M&S Bank Arena?
It's been moved to April next year. So it's the Fit Expo that was going to be on like the same weekend, which I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but I think maybe it would have been good because it's not body power. Do you think it would have been or no?
Yeah, it'd have been good.
Yeah, I think it'd have been good.
Weekend.
It's bodybuilding weekend. It's not body power, so we don't have to worry about the snakes at body power. But also just would have been good because maybe I probably wouldn't go, but I'd go because I'd be there for finals. So maybe I'd go on the Saturday, have a mooch and stuff like that. But yeah.
I'd go around up on protein bars, so.
Yeah. We'd be shitting through the eye of a needle. All the sweetener. Speaking of shows, another good milestone this week in the resumption of live indoor performances with audiences from August 1st. So looking good, isn't it?
And I know it's not here, but there was also the Wings of Strength show went on this weekend in America.
Oh, whereabouts? The
Wings of Strength, which is the guy who now owns the Olympia.
Yeah.
His show. There was classic bodybuilding, men's physique. Jake Wood. Yeah. Loads of money. Not sure where from.
No, a lot of money. Well, they're bringing the Miss Olympia back this year, aren't they? Because they've put a lot of money into it with Dan Solomon. Talk of Iris Kyle coming back, which would be.
What do you think? Do you think at like 45 she's still going to look as mega as normal, or? Yeah,
she's still who's mega as normal, and she'd blast everybody so long as they don't penalise her for looking slightly funky, maybe. And like it really depends how they do it. They judge it, doesn't it? You know.
Looking like Dennis Rodman.
I mean, yeah, just looking a lot like Dennis Rodman. It's funny, isn't it?
Because she turned up with Hide at one of the shows and she dyed her hair blonde and shaved it all off.
Oh yeah.
So, wow, Dennis Rodman's looking big.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
it'd be interesting to see how they judge that, because they got rid of it, right, because it was deemed as less popular, and it's always had a bit of a stigma attached to it anyway. But then all that happened was you started to get the women's physique girls get bigger, and figure got bigger, and so they just ended up still being women's bodybuilders, but not really class for it. So at the very least, doing it this way now, you have people who can do women's bodybuilding and go the way they like with that. Maybe physique will downsize a little bit, and maybe even figure will downsize a little bit more.
It's an interesting question, and it's nice to have some bodybuilding stuff to talk about. Actually.
No, can we just tell everyone that when we started this podcast, I enjoy the first 30, 40 minutes of absolute bullshit. However, the idea was that we'd talk about shows that had been on. We could break it down. There's fucking been no shows. So this is as good as it's going to get.
It's basically just a life podcast, let alone a bodybuilding podcast. But anyway, so I was having a chat with some of the guys who train within the week at Shreds Gym, who are, one is, two of them who are there are men's physique competitors in natural feds. Both decent guys as well. And the other guy is very high up in amateurs. He's come second twice, I think, at the at the Two Bros British Finals, like 2 years, which is Hader, who's sponsored by JP. Yeah. And we were all having the conversation about the size of men's physique guys from when it started to now. And how long is it going to be before they scale it back? Because if you remember what Ryan Terry looked like and what Rob Riches looked like when
Mark Anthony, you remember Mark Anthony?
I don't actually know.
The guy who was trained by Jay, he was the first Mr. Physique Olympic.
His surname's not Hansen.
Mark Anthony.
Mark Anthony, yeah. I thought you said Mark Hansen. I was like, that's not him. So yes, you know Mark Anthony.
Yeah.
Because it's. I wonder how long it's going to be like the women's bodybuilding before they go, okay, like the problem is you get feedback from a judge. Why did this guy beat me? Well, you're about the same condition. He's a bit bigger. So then the work is to go away in your off season, come back a bit bigger, come back about, get rewarded, and then they go, you're all a bit too big. You all look like classic bodybuilders now. So what we'd like you to do is maybe scale that back a bit. And that's effectively what happened with the Miss Olympia. And they end there, wait, do you know what? Enough's enough. We're just going to get rid of it. So,
well, maybe. Again, this is us coming up with ideas for talking points live on the podcast. This could be a preview to a whole podcast. But I would say is 2 points really. One, it's got to be not the biggest fan of men's physique as on the whole, but it's got to be a very hard class to judge in terms of if you're judging bodybuilding. It's if all things are equal and one guy is bigger than the other, the guy that's bigger will win. Okay, we can agree on that. Men's physique, though, it shouldn't, in my opinion, that shouldn't be the deciding factor. There's far more subjectivity involved. It's probably became a little bit more like bodybuilding and that the bigger guy wins. Same with classic, really, and George Peterson. Like, George Peterson is not a classic bodybuilder, hence why he's moved into 212. But he won a lot of shows and placed well in Olympia because he was bigger than the other guys. But was he more classic? Probably not. And same could be said for, men's physique. I mean, imagine judging a bikini class. I couldn't even conceivably do it because there's so many other tangibles. It's not who's the biggest, who's the most conditioned, and then shape and all that kind of stuff. There's so many other things. So I think that makes it hard, and that makes people get bigger.
Yeah, and without being on the stage of controversy, it's like I bet you out of those classes you get the biggest difference between bikini maybe more than men's physique, or maybe both, but the difference of opinion on first places on judging panels.
Yeah.
Because, if you've only got quarter turns to decide a physique on, because, things get broken down a lot as people start to pose in normal bodybuilding. But I would think for me, that's what men's physique is. But he's also very good. And then, someone else has gone, yeah, but they're a bit too big. And this guy just, has got better proportions. And, I bet you get 9 different judges. And I bet you could easily get 5 different first places. And not to say that you couldn't in normal bodybuilding, but I would think it's harder because you have less stuff to judge, to break down, So I would definitely say bikini's mental. I mean, you know, you get what PCA shows. There's like, you know, 10 different categories, and in each category there's at least 20.
Yeah, I would say at the very least, at least with the PCA bikini, because they have got subcategories of bikini, which again is a point of contention anyway. But you have more muscular bikini girls and less muscular bikini girls, and those actually are important factors for the judging. So at the very least, if you're a muscular bikini girl in the less muscular bikini girl class, you could conceivably get marked down for it. But imagine an IFBB, NPC. Imagine going like the nationals or USA's in America, and you know 1,000 bikini girls step on the stage. And it's just, I just don't know. Do not know how you do it.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad, and I think that it's like, yeah, trying to judge one of them would be an absolute headache for sure. Yeah.
Second point on the men's physique thing, and why the people, why it's kind of grown into this just a size thing again, is, and I would prefer that they didn't do this. I saw a friend I trained with that wanted to do a men's physique show, but he actually wanted to do it because that was his preferred class. He didn't like the look of bodybuilders and stuff like that. He wanted to look like a men's physique competitor, which for me, that's why you should do men's physique. If you prefer a classic look and you want to do classic for that reason, you do classic. If you like the look of bodybuilders, you do bodybuilding. This notion that men's physique is like almost like a gateway to bodybuilding, like I'll do men's physique because it's a beginner's thing, that doesn't sit with me, because it's a totally different, it's a different class. You're looking at different things, and what you get is guys trying to get bigger and putting size on, and then they get to the end of the tenure as men's physique and they're just big men's physique guys with shorts on, you know, before they then decide to make that move into bodybuilding. So again, it's a whole other talking point, but if you like doing men's physique, you do men's physique.
Yeah, ready for another podcast. I think, you know, you need to kind of maybe watch a few more shows where, you know, being us like we are, we're like, okay, let's go get 5 guys because men's physique show is on. But it will be good from a standpoint of seeing how that class has developed, because I think, you know, like, as I said, like you look at the top tier guys now, and there's not one of them on there, like let's say top 5 in men Olympia, who aren't like standing bodybuilders already. Like Buendia is like nowhere near now, even though he had injuries and stuff like that. But like some of the other guys and everything, like they look, they're round, big, you know, good abs. It's like, you know, they have kind of everything going, good backs. It's like they're not just smaller guys anymore. So
the idea, right, was that it'd be someone that you'd see on the beach and it'd look wicked on the beach. If you've seen Jason Poston or Buendia flaring his lats like on the beach, like Jesus Christ, look at this jacked motherfucker, not like, oh, there's a dude on the beach.
Yeah, because like, especially now, someone that level of muscle and stuff, like, I mean, they're going to be bigger than like 99% normal natural bodybuilders, like heavyweights and middleweights, like way bigger. Whereas before it was like a joke. It was like, I remember seeing that picture in like the Flex magazine, and it was like the UK first men's physique show, and the guys were like tiny, and it was like, well, the natural guys are bigger, and now it's like, oh, okay, well, most of the men's physique guys are pretty big. So,
I do think you get quite often get a poor standard in a lot of amateur men's physique, sort of depth, I would say, not poor standard, because there's some wicked amateur guys, but then the depth can be really quite shallow, and that can be, I think that's probably one of the things that makes it difficult for us to watch. Is, you know, you can go and watch a bodybuilding show at PCA or Two Bros or whatever, and you'll see some big guys, some great physiques. You go and watch a men's physique at that level, and there will be a lot of weaker competitors as well, and it can be quite tedious to watch.
Well, what's interesting is when in the PCA, the overall consists of the men's physique guys as well.
Yeah.
And they still have to do the same poses. It's like, yeah, class doesn't have the same poses, but we went to watch one of the overalls, and like men's physique guy was like blasting the like open bodybuilding like a bicep. I was like, what's going on here? And that, I think it was the time they had muscle model as well. They don't do that anymore. They've scrapped it because everyone's going to classic.
Yeah.
But it's pretty funny, especially if you get a good guy. And like, you know, some of the guys I have seen who are like the guy who won the pro card like last year at Two Bros, like barn door wide shoulders, tiny weight, looks wicked, you know.
Yeah.
So it's one of them. Anyway, how far are we into this already?
30 minutes.
4 minutes. Shall we roll on with the subject of the week?
Yes. Natty Muscle Radio subject of the week is about sleep. So.
No, it isn't. It's about the biggest thing you can do to improve your performance, which is
okay. Which is nice. See what you did there. Well, I heard in the grapevine that you have a lot of knowledge on this already. So if you want to lead, please do.
So I would say it's a aspect of, well, I think the reason why I wanted to know more about it, more than anything really this year, is because the changes that maybe I've seen through myself from the small thing of changing the time that I train. So for years and years and years, you know, I start work at 10 in the morning. I would often get up about 8 o'clock. I would basically either do some form of cardio or get ready to travel to work and then go to work, get there for around 9 o'clock, make myself a coffee, have breakfast, start work at 10. Train at 8 o'clock in the evening, get wired off my neck on pre-workout at 10 to 8. Train for 2 hours. Post-workout shake, post-workout meal, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and then stay up till 1, 2 in the morning, and then go to bed around about 1 o'clock most nights, and then wake up about 8. So still getting 7 or 8 hours a night. But there's a number of factors that I think was that the actual quality of sleep I was getting, having that much caffeine that late at night. I didn't really realize it. And I'm going to try not to run into all these things so quickly, but like bullet points to cover. So 1, the quality of sleep. 2, how I felt the next day. And like 3, like being heavy in an off season, snoring, quality of sleep. So all this kind of stuff. So that's things to consider. But the reason why, is that I wanted to know more about it because there's an awful lot of things which people maybe it's massively overlooked. I know one of my heroes, Stan Efferdin, is massive on it. And this is where it came up from starting the vertical diet a couple of years ago. And doing more of my off season, more of like the meat and, steak and rice diet, basically. But all this falls into performance. So whether it be the amount of salt you intake and all that kind of stuff, it was all following the protocols. And one is obviously going to bed on time. Now, to a certain point, I could never really understand that. I thought, what's the difference? As if I go to bed at 12 or 1 and sleep for 8 hours, what difference does it make? But it's to do with the way that your body clock actually wants to operate. So you going to bed between 9 and 10 is massive, or 10 and 11 even, is massively different to you going to bed at like later hours in early morning and then waking up later. It's to do with how your body clock works and your exposure to sunlight at first thing in the morning. There's quite a number of things that we go down. So now I know, let's just like running through some points, I've got a few things to talk about. But I mean, one thing I know yourself, you had some trouble, didn't you, last year with contest prep and sleeping. So what was that like for you at the time?
So that was really rough, actually. And to kind of, I think I mentioned it briefly last week, but to highlight the peak of how bad it got, I went to bed one night at just a little bit after 10. and woke up naturally before 12 midnight. Ready for the day. So I hadn't even broke the next calendar day, which wasn't ideal. But there was a period at the end of prep. I'll preface this by saying, there's a difference between how much sleep you can conceivably get and how much comfortable sleep. I was just lying in bed. You can do on prep when you're really gritting it, compared to an off season anyway. But yeah, for that time, a good 4 hours for me was pretty much what I was getting, and a lot of that was to do with wanting to get up to eat my next meal. That was a big deal. The more time I spent in bed, the hungrier I got, I guess. But then there's also that level of that feeling of being uncomfortable that you have when you're dieting and when you're very lean.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that?
When your bones just hurt laying around on a soft mattress.
It doesn't feel comfortable, does it? Yeah. And you just generally and you're cracked out on all the pre-workouts that you're just taking throughout the day, and that's like coffee and all that kind of stuff. And so just on the whole, sleep for my prep last year wasn't good at the end, and definitely will be something that I'll pay closer attention to next time. By contrast, I remember the night of British finals. We ate a ton of food and whatnot, and that was the best night's sleep I could remember in a long time, because it was just all the stress had gone, all the show pressures and anxiety had gone, full belly, very happy, and solid sleep. So I think there's a lot within that, a lot of reasons why it wasn't very good. And maybe you're going to enlighten me a little bit as to why you think that would be the case.
Well, we will kick it off with the main thing that happens when you are sleep deprived is that your hormones don't function properly. So if your hormones are out of whack, when you go to sleep, your body is obviously always trying to repair itself, whether it be muscle tissue and all that kind of stuff. And what it will end up doing is it will end up putting the least important stuff on the back burner. So let's say you suffer with a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of depression, or a little bit of just overall kind of stress. Well, basically it puts that to the back of the conveyor belt. So the fact that the more tired you get, the more things obviously then this materializes, and therefore your body and talking about getting into REM sleep. So that's a really active time for your brain. And basically that is where your brain helps to refocus all your mental thoughts and everything like that as well. So it's not about just getting this, the quality of sleep is massively important. So you obviously it's the deep sleep, but then it's also time for your brain to reset almost. Mm. So we're talking about hormones. So one of the biggest things that I found quite interesting for us fat gene kids over here is that when you're sleep deprived, you become more insulin resistant. So basically what that means is that in a nutshell, in bro terms, is that basically you've got more chance of the carbohydrates that you consume being stored as fat, because you're just basically insulin is not working as well because you're fatter, and therefore because you're tired. So it's something that you would think, wow, that's me for sure. There's been phases where I've done that, but is that, especially if you maybe are prone to gaining some fat in the off season, and maybe after a show period where things do tend to sort of sit back into normal routine, it's maybe your body just kind of is already in a bit of a shit show after a show, trying to get back to normal because your hormones aren't regulating properly. So therefore you haven't got a good chance of being in a good state for gaining weight again, if you like.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And there was something else on that I was going to say. I did write some notes down. I've actually done some homework this week because of stuff that I wanted to cover. So obviously being more insulin resistant, but also as a result, especially on contest prep, something to look at, which probably makes sense for you as well, is that the more sleep that you lose, the more that your ghrelin increases. Yeah. So your hunger hormone goes up.
Yeah.
So like it's the worst thing that you want. So basically you're more insulin resistant and you're also hungrier. So it's like
right.
It's a bad combo.
Yeah.
Because obviously you can't really get out of that if you like. So that's definitely one of the things that would have been happening to you.
You can see how that would be the case for non-bodybuilders, gym people who train. You know, that kind of classic metabolic syndrome or dad bod, as it's more commonly known now. You know, they're kind of like pot belly, you know, kind of breast tissue but thin arms, like that metabolic syndrome. No, it sounds like. I was waiting
for you to drop someone's name just for like.
Myself, if I didn't train, probably. No, that's not taking a pop. That's that's like kind of what the symptoms really are. How they kind of demonstrate.
Yeah.
But you can see how that kind of cycle would affect someone like that who's not a trainer, because staying up late and eating a poor diet, and so the insulin sensitivity. Call of Duty, yeah. Fighting with kids on Call of Duty at 3 a.m. and stuff like that, and telling them you're going to come and like poo in the letterbox and things. So, but hungry and poor insulin sensitivity and not sleeping, and so yeah, you can see that manifest in those people. So as a bodybuilder that's trying to, I've mentioned time and time again, and obviously I didn't do. What I've just described with my prep, I could have done sleep so much better, and it's something I'll improve for next time. But it is that 1% thing, isn't it? That famous quote from Rich Gosdecki that I love, that when someone asked him did he use D-aspartic acid, and he said yeah, because I'll use everything I can within the realms of natural bodybuilding to give me that 1%. Yeah. The sleep's got to make up for a far higher than 1%. You know, and if it's not being covered, then yeah, I can see how you could fall into that cycle pretty easy.
Definitely. So another one that comes under the bodybuilding terms: lack of sleep, increase in cortisol, so stress hormone, and stress hormone breaks down muscle tissue. So it's another thing for bodybuilders. It absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
Because you can't eat as much carbs because you get fatter, you're hungrier, and you're losing muscle, all because you don't want to go to bed or you don't sleep. So
I hope there's someone watching this podcast that's like,
fuck,
it's me. Just go straight to bed. Stop watching the podcast and go to bed.
There are a lot more kickers to that as well, which we still to get through. So through lack of sleep, also your metabolism is going to slow down. Now, this is a massive thing with regards to your decrease in your thyroid output. So when you are tired, your thyroid doesn't work properly. Now, your thyroid obviously is in control of obviously you losing weight. So once again, for a show prep and performance, you're having a hard time losing body fat and you're not sleeping well, that is going to be one of the main things that's going to cause that. So it's like, fuck, them 4 things you think just because I'm not sleeping very well is making your contest prep a lot harder than you kind of needed to be, because you just basically love Call of Duty too much. So
you know what, as well, it's almost an oxymoron this, in that people like to, if they're struggling on a prep and they're not improving the way they'd like to, feel that, okay, what can I do to work harder and implement more? So I'll do more of this, I'll do more of this, or I'll eat less of this. The notion of, okay, what you actually need to do to get better is be able to relax and sleep more. And that would be really difficult for some people to get in the head and then actually do. You know,
you don't remember. You will love this, but do you know the Jay Cutler ripped to shreds?
Mm.
His philosophy for that show, even though he was the best bodybuilder on the planet pretty much at that time, or at least obviously won his like third Arnold Classic, he was getting up at 2 a.m. to go do cardio to shock his body.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Right? Which basically, if you are someone who gets up at 4 o'clock to go do your cardio, you are far better off doing that after your training or do it somewhere else and not interrupting that vital part of your sleep.
Yeah.
Because all them things that we just discussed, because you're getting up to do cardio, is actually having a much. The famous quote is basically you're stepping over dollars to pick up a nickel. That is the thing. Is basically you're overlooking a really important part or a much more valuable part to get something. Like I'm going to go burn 200 calories on a step meal.
Yeah.
But if I just stayed in bed a bit longer and didn't get up and do it.
And that's exactly what I mean. And it's difficult to tell somebody that in the throes of a prep.
Yeah.
Like actually do less. You know, it's like when it's like as a coach you might give someone a high day because they look a bit shit or they've stopped losing weight. So therefore what?
Technical term that is
look a bit
shit this week.
They have stopped, you know, they might have stagnated, stopped losing weight, so you might give them a refeed, almost like you know, I think more than anything what a refeed would do on a prep is it's that feeling of relaxation. It's that higher calories, the dopamine that's released because you're happier and you're enjoying something, and perhaps you can enjoy it with your significant other or your friend, and then you suddenly start dropping again and looking better. That's no coincidence as well, because you probably sleep better that night. You know, everyone sleeps better after a burger, right? You know, that night of British finals when we, crying out loud, because we got out so late, most likely because of you, because we're always waiting for you at the end of shows anyway, so cheers. The only thing that was left open in Perth was the McDonald's. So my post-show finals meal was about 15 double cheeseburgers, 12 Big Macs and the like. But crying out loud, that helped me sleep. You know, just completely knocked me out.
Brilliant.
So it can be tough if you're not, you know, if you get that refeed meal, great. But if you've not got that, it can be tough to put yourself into the ability to sleep. So I won't interrupt because I know you've got many talking points, but I would like to know on what your tips are if you're struggling to sleep. So I don't know if you've got anything like that, but
yep. Okay, we'll come back to that for sure.
Yeah.
Let's come back to that because what I should have done is gone the top 10 reasons. I should have done a top 10 again, didn't I?
So good at top 10s.
I'll split out. I could have definitely got more than 5, and I reckon I could have made it to 10.
Okay.
So next one, same again. This relates to bodybuilding, unfortunately, for all you guys who are still playing on Call of Duty, is that it decreases your testosterone as well.
Oh, fucking hell.
It's like, sucks.
Sucks.
Even if you've got high testosterone like I have. So, rubbish.
Oh, even if you fail the drug test because your T ratio is too high.
I'm £400 out of pocket. You're not £400 out of pocket because of it.
No.
So that's another one. What else have I got for you?
I'm learning so much on this podcast.
Good. I'm pleased. So now I don't quite understand this one, but it's to do what I talked about earlier about like basically going to bed at certain times. But basically the body wants to sleep most around from 10 till 6 or 11 till 7. It's supposed to be
to do with the circadian rhythm.
Circadian rhythms or something it's called, yeah. Which I don't quite understand, but need to do more research. But basically, that is a thing where things you should basically do around these times. So we can talk it into tips. In fact, I'll leave it for the tips. So I'll come back to that one. Come back to the circadian rhythms. Yes, for the tips. Have Brad Rose sunglasses. Yeah.
Is this going to be distracting if we do this for the remainder of the podcast?
I can cope with it. Just like a big fly. What else? So then, well, I would say they are the major things that need to be considered of the side effects. And I guess one thing, especially with contest prep and probably off-season training to a certain point, is that the more intense your training is, the more sleep you need. So if you are training twice a day, so doing cardio in the morning or weights at night, or if you're like me in some cases and been doing weights AM, PM, then you need to sleep. We do often talk about optimal strength naps as well.
Strength naps.
We'll have a strength nap. Now, strength naps on the whole shouldn't really be over anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to end up falling into REM sleep and therefore waking up like groggy and like red-eyed and all that kind of stuff.
Well, because training on the weekend now has got really quite hard. I'll do legs and chest. You know, so it's legs and then chest, triceps, biceps. So there's a lot of work on the weekend. I'm having a Sunday afternoon full power sleep where I have to wake up. Like Karen knows that I'm going for the nap because I'll just start to move around. I'll start to do a few pottering about things. I'll just come up and I'll go, I'm just going to go for a quick nap. And then I'll get on the bed and I'll be out. Like there's no better sleep than a nap because you're just out immediately. And then I'll wake up a good hour, maybe longer later when she comes and wakes me up, because otherwise I'm through for the night, with a lovely dribble that's encrusted on me beard and takes some time to kind of get out. Yeah. And if you're not at that level of napping, you need to up your game. Yeah. So that's one of my contributions.
The optimal Christmas post-lunch nap. That's the best one of the year. Oh. It's like I've usually had some form of whiskey with my lunch, and then it's like, a mound of Christmas dinner, and then sleep like a king in the chair with my hands on my belly, as propped up.
Sorry.
Sleep like a...
Sorry. Can you give us a visual representation of where your hands would be if you were on off season and your actual belly was there?
All right.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Hey, tell you what.
It's not quite the same off season with a turtle shell. It's not quite the same, is it? Really? So, but getting back to my first point, then, is that the reason why I've found that I was doing this is that one, being heavy in an off season, so I snore a lot. So the recommendations is to buy a CPAP machine. Now I don't think I'm probably at that level of maybe needing that, unless right towards the end of the off season, maybe you would. But the sort of key things is if you are waking up groggy and tired in the morning and not fresh and ready to go, that is basically a key indicator that obviously you're snoring a lot and therefore your quality of sleep's rubbish. Yeah. Which means you're not actually getting ample oxygen or whatever it is into your system, really. So that's definitely something to notice for homework for our podcast viewers, is to actually kind of have a look at what you're actually feeling like in the morning after you wake up.
Well, I'd like to add there's an effective lack of sleep that I'd like to add, and it's something I'm famed for being interested in now, and I've had all of 3 people message me about.
Not digestion.
It would be poo and digestion, yes.
Okay.
Because, and a simple thing, you mentioned hormones and stuff like that. Your body balances water a lot when you sleep. So there's a reason why you wake up often. I mean, it depends what your kind of body weight is anyway, but there's been times, probably about now actually, where I can wake up a good 4 pounds lighter than what I went bed at. A good whole 2 kilos. And that's because you've perspired in bed. You've sweat. When you're breathing out, you're breathing out water vapor essentially. Your body will move water where it needs to be, and you'll piss probably once in the night. You'll get up and you'll have a mega horse piss every morning, and that's your body has regulated that. If you aren't just simply spending enough time in bed, your body doesn't have the time to do that. The same is also true for transit of food and digestion, so if you're not giving your body the time to physically push the food through your gut and out again, then you will find yourself in a chronic state of constipation, and then probably what you'd consider diarrhea, because your body will eventually want to get rid of it. It'll catch up with it, and it'll be in the middle of the day, and it'll be inconvenient. If you have a good sleep pattern combined with a good nutrition and digestion pattern, I'm of the belief that as a bodybuilder, you should be going to bed and getting up, and you go to the toilet like clockwork. Maybe you get up, you go 20 minutes later, maybe you have a coffee and you go, whatever. Maybe you go straight away. But if you're not simply spending the time in bed, let alone the quality of the sleep, that will be massively hampered. And then there's no need to go into the effects of digestion on bodybuilding. We've spoke about that, but it's certainly something. The time in bed, the sleep, contributes massively to having problems with that. So.
How much water do you think you lose in an afternoon nap when it's down inside of your face?
How much water? On my actual face, a good 300 mils.
Quality. Good. So, I mean, those are, I guess, like the main side effects that you're overlooking because you're basically not getting enough quality sleep. Now, I guess we always used to joke as well. It was always be the kind of thing as like, not being optimal. But I think it's more than that. It's more than, it's not a case of just going to bed on time. It's like taking measurements to basically so that you can train harder and you can, it's a much more important aspect that maybe I'd even given it time for in the past. With all that considered, when you look at fat loss and muscle growth and all that kind of stuff, it's like they always say, like, the best guys, the guys they sleep a lot, they eat, sleep, and train, and it's like in those best, how should we say, I guess it's a lot of quality of eating, sleeping, and training. It's all, amount of quality, not just kind of like
not just quantity. Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing. So I guess we can get on the tips, and I'm sure you can help me out with that. Yeah. So I guess the first thing I guess we'll touch on then is as we talk about these circadian rhythms, if that's the way you pronounce it. I think so. But basically, your body wants a lot of sunlight in the morning. So basically, the good thing to do in the morning is to make sure that if you sleep with blackout blinds, or if you're going to wear a face mask or whatever, because let's say we sleep and our bedroom window is like directly outside a lamppost almost. So there's an awful lot of light coming through the room. So one of the best things you can do is to basically like put a blind down so that your room is dark as possible. That you've not, I'll save the points. But basically, you want a dark room, and then when you get up, you want a light room. So obviously, in England, maybe it's not the ideal scenario in the winter months when you're getting up for cardio at 6 in the morning, maybe. If you are doing that in the winter, I don't know if a lot of people are. And then, and then waking up, and then it's still not light for a long time. Yeah. But where you can replicate that environment is that you want lots of light. So whether it means going out and doing a small walk outside or whatever, instead of, being like a hermit in your house with all the lights off.
Yeah.
That's what you can do to actually, improve that, if you like, routine. That makes sense.
So for me, it's a tip, and it's also something that I think people are probably struggling with at the moment, because I am. So I find it quite hard often to shut my mind off. like Cara says, I'm always doing, I'm always thinking of whether it be work or training or just something. I can't just sit there. I'll read a book or I'll do something, whatever, and that can have an effect on your sleep. If you can't turn off before bed, if you can't shut off, then you find yourself. Them memes are funny where you've got the little caricature guy who's like gets all tucked up in bed and then his brain goes, I'm just going to make you think about something completely irrelevant, and you're there for the next 8 hours. How did Obi-Wan Kenobi kill Darth Maul when he didn't have the high ground, and like things like that. Also did kill Darth Maul, if anyone wants to kind of be pedantic about that. He comes back and all that shit.
One thing Ricky Gervais says, like, the peanut is not a nut, it's a legume.
Right.
It's like, okay.
That just makes you think avocados aren't vegan because they farm bees. You'll be lying there at night like. So there's that. But I think why I mentioned that I reckon people are struggling with it right now is I've noticed my sleep has been broken a lot more. I almost have these, not almost have, I quite often every night have these weird little night terrors where I wake up and I'm petrified of something, and Cara has to kind of be like, are you all right? And I'm like, yeah, and then I get dead embarrassed and pissed off because I've just had a kind of sort of sleepwalking episode. Yeah, but I think that's a lot to do with not being able to shut off, and especially not being able to shut off during this whole coronavirus thing, because especially when people couldn't leave the houses, and I'm still doing a lot of working from home, so I'm here and working from home, and I'm often working till quite late at night, and then I go to bed and I'm not really turned it off. Everything's ticking over, and then because we're absorbing a lot of negative media at the moment, people are watching the news and shit going on. We're either at war with China, or there's a virus or something shit, or Will Smith's been cheated on by his wife, or all the kind of important things. Did you not know about that?
No.
Oh my word! Sorry, if it's not bodybuilding, you don't know about it, is it? Do you? But I'll send it. I'll send it. This is for a whole other thing. But that inability to shut off can really, really hurt you. And if you're struggling with that right now with the whole coronavirus thing, then I would just recommend little things like simply not having the telly as the last thing you do before you go to bed. Like maybe read a book. Okay, maybe that's not shutting off completely, but read a book for 10, 15 minutes. That's a nice way to do it.
Even like with the client I had this week, it's like he basically he just goes to bed a bit earlier.
Okay.
And just chills out in bed and then falls asleep. It's like, you don't always have to be doing something. So it can just be like, just going to sit here and just like, just calm down a little bit. As I said, like, yeah, one of the biggest things to do is like not have a lot of electronic stuff on. And it's very typical, I guess, of this day and age. It's like first thing in the morning, it's like wake up, this, and then sorry the light on then, and then go to bed. It's like it just, do you know what I mean? If you're constantly doing that, then it's not going to be, I guess, a good thing for your brain to get into. So so that's one. So is it like switching off?
Switching off, yeah. And I just want to finish that point with a couple of I mentioned sleepwalking, right? I can't leave this point without mentioning the 2 funniest sleepwalking episodes I've had. And I don't know if I've told you about these before. It was in my previous apartment, and it's first was I woke up and I was that scared of something. I tried to escape my own apartment. I was sleeping naked, but fortunately I couldn't work out the lock on the door. So instead, I just hid in the closet until Cara come and found me, and there I was, hunched up, all tired and scared and nude. So that was the first funny sleepwalking episode. The second, I was that scared that something was going to attack Cara in the night that I went to the corner of the bed. I folded the mattress over her like a calzone in an attempt to protect her.
Calzone.
It's calzone, yeah. In an attempt to protect her from the demons that were trying to attack us during the night. Okay. So, yeah, if you're struggling with any of those kind of sleepwalking episodes, then fucking sorted out because it's not.
On time and stop watching horror films before you go to bed, basically.
Yeah.
So, the Attack Killer Pizza featuring Aeronn Bevan.
Yeah, exactly. Now the pizza was a protective device in that, and I stand by it. So
yeah, good. I'd like you to recreate it just for my own amusement, please.
All right. Okay, fine.
Maybe when I bring my big airbed round.
All right.
Yeah.
Come in at night. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So that's good. So we've covered dark room, light mornings, switch off before you go to bed. What else have we got? Yeah, basically it might mean you're spending a bit of time in bed before actually going to sleep. So basically, like just chilling out and doing that. I guess it all covers around the same points, really. But yeah, I guess
what about? So we've said chilling out, that kind of thing. I guess we already touched on your training time. You know, maybe I've had to train late a lot of years. You know, but do you need that pre-workout if you're training late all the time? Maybe you do because you're training late, but then think about what you're training for. You know, because it's all right getting jacked up and having a workout, but if you're actually not benefiting from it because you're not sleeping and all that kind of stuff, do you need it? There's that. But then, since we're a bodybuilding podcast, what supplements do you recommend that would be good for sleep? So good at fucking podcasts.
Good for sleep. Well, actually, so this is one thing that's not so much controversial, but basically, don't want to be relying on. Well, we definitely don't want anything like sleeping pills.
So Zopiclone is a no, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That one is. Don't even know what that one is.
No, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, basically not trying to like take something to kind of like mask the problem. Yeah. You need to try and sort that out like the natural way, if that makes sense. But I mean, obviously, like, you know, a good zinc magnesium supplement is going to be good because I guess that, you know, we are deficient in that from training intense. So it's good to have something like that in your diet. I mean, it falls a little bit into this with regards to maybe like England's not so bad, I guess, at the moment, but definitely in the winter months, like they did a study and it's something like, I don't want to get onto the supplement podcast because this isn't the episode, but the supplement that they did, or the study they did on vitamin D3, which obviously you want lots of in the morning and, you know, lots of light and all that kind of stuff, that the dosages that they recommend for people apparently is way under. So actually 8,000 IUs is what is accepted as the effective dose. But most supplements you get like 4,000 IUs is considered really high. But actually, so 8,000 IUs will be far more beneficial for you. So therefore, with regards to things like that, if your hormones are in balance, and that along with, I guess, with K2 and all that kind of stuff, like it will help your body regulate better. So therefore, maybe help you to sleep better. So if you're deficient in these kind of things, that can obviously mess up your sleep pattern.
Yeah.
So it's, I guess it's hard to try and link the two, but that is like, you know, zinc, magnesium, and a good dose of vitamin D3 is going to be massively beneficial to you.
So I mean, it's on the whole nutrition, it's on the whole supplementation. They're the kind of things that as a bodybuilder, that 1%, you should be covering anyway, right? You know, you should be taking. If we were to do a breakdown of like, if we could only take, I don't know, so many, 10 supplements or something like that, I'm pretty confident that you'd have vitamin D3 on it. You know, if we were taking out all our fancy EAA intras and all them kind of things, you're really breaking it down. I'm sure something like that would be on it. You know, so that should be really covered. But I think the overreaching advice of this should be that is, because I think a lot of people know how to get better sleep. I think they know all the things that they're doing. So we've mentioned the 3 a.m. Call of Duty. We've mentioned the taking double dose pre-workouts at 10 o'clock. You know, those kind of things.
2 a.m. to do cardio.
Not getting up at 2 a.m. to do cardio, yes. I think if you ask people why they're not sleeping well, everyone would know. Everyone would know what it is that's not making them sleep well, unless they've got a real chronic, insomnia kind of issue. And I think our advice from this would be, don't ignore it and address it, because it is, from everything that you've described, and I'm sure you can speak anecdotally from your prep this year, having paid more attention to it, that you feel that you're performing better and are having a better prep because of it. So don't ignore it. Address these issues. Yeah. And you'll kind of see the fruits of your labour a lot better.
So I must give credit, because it's Claire who wants to go to bed a bit earlier, and I was up, wanting to watch another episode on Netflix or Now TV or whatever.
It's the other way around. That will be Cara, you, and I'm Claire. So
a bit earlier, I'm like, oh, okay. And then now I've got myself into that routine, and I've seen the benefits. And like I said to Claire the other day, I was like, when I get up at the moment, my joints don't hurt as much for a start, because I'm lighter. But I am ready to get up when I get up. And I feel like if I go to that, morning walk to the toilet, I feel like I'm ready for the day. And it's like, it's only when you look back at all the times where, especially when I was in Australia, where it was like I was getting up, and my first thing that I would do was shuffle over to the espresso machine, make a coffee, and then rub my red eyes, and then half an hour later I'd kind of be up. And now my morning routine, I'm downstairs, I have a pint of water, really rehydrate in the morning. It's I feel great in the mornings, and that's all down to basically going to fucking bed a bit earlier. So it's yeah, okay, but I like watching Family Guy at 2 a.m. But you can watch them any time on some Android device, I guess.
Yes.
Something. Or Disney Channel. No, they're not. The Simpsons is on there. So
I'm pretty sure Family Guy is not on the Disney Channel.
Really? So,
yeah.
Oh yeah. They should maybe at least put the Star Wars episodes on there, right?
Oh yeah, Blue Harvest.
Yeah.
That was what it's called. So last thing is just a funny point. Is that I believe that you told me that Claire says that you do the same thing as what I do, is when you're big and heavy in the off season, is turning in bed can be quite traumatic for your significant other.
Basically, imagine it this way: it would be like if you decided to go for a nap on a trampoline. And then I decided to jump on the end of the trampoline. That is what it's like for her when I turn over in bed.
Do you want to I think you could demonstrate quite well on that couch a little bit. So it's it's like taking a beached whale and just trying to.
So uncomfortable as well. It's so much mass to get round from so thick chest to back.
So big. Imagine how bad it is for me then.
Ridiculous.
I also one last weird quirk. It's been like a therapy session for me on sleep, really. So I seem to only be able to turn in bed clockwise. So if I'm lying on my back, looking up at the ceiling, and I feel like I have the urge, if I have the urge to lie on my left side, okay, I can't just turn left. I have to flip.
Go all the way around.
which
Claire is laughing upstairs as well.
Which just further compounds the kind of yeah. So God forbid if I want to lie on my left hand side, Cara's being woke up, unfortunately. So
it's funny though, because it's I have this thing where I can't lie at the moment on that side. So I think we all get used to laying on one side, and you'll probably notice it because you'll probably tend to find, I mean, your beard is a bit hard to tell, but a lot of the time, the side that you sleep on is that your beard is be thinner on the side that you're on. And the same with your hair. My hair told me this by my barber, I guess. So that happens. But I think from when I've been so repetitive on the one side, my neck is slightly shorter on one side, or the muscles are tighter.
Okay.
To go on that side. So So what I think I'm going to turn over in bed, and then I'm like, no, that isn't comfortable, and then have to shuffle all the way back over again.
Cara, unfortunately, my preferred side, which is on my right side, is also Cara's preferred side is her left side. And unfortunately, I just breathe on her as a big, large off-season bodybuilder. I just lie here like, and so unfortunately, by default, she doesn't get to lie on her favoured side.
Funny.
So yeah.
Well, that's a good positive note to finish on. So, Natty Muscle Radio, episode 17.
There is
featuring Cara Bevan.
Yes.
What do you think,
Oh, we'll save it. We'll save it for another week. Right?
Go on.
Okay, it's completely not related to this podcast, so you're happy? Yeah. Do you want to roll with it?
Go on, why not? You've built up the ante. It's better be a bloody good story, because if it hasn't, and you waste like 5 minutes of my time that I could be in bed sleeping.
Could be in bed. Don't listen to another story. Just go to bed. We just spent an hour and 17 minutes saying that.
My insulin sensitivity, my testosterone dropping, and all that.
All right. It's not a story. It's not a story. It's a question. So what about if I ask the question, and similar to the question, what can't you add cheese to, and that when I answered meat and potato pie for singular bodybuilding meal. Cara's question to me the other day, or she wanted to ask for the podcast, was if you could be a superhero, what would be your superpower? And the reason why...
And what would you call yourself?
And what would you call yourself as well? And the reason why she asks this is because if she had the choice of any superpower, any at all, fly, laser eyes, Wolverine, stabby hands, no. Cara's superpower would be that she just was a magnet for baddies, and baddies would just come to her, just be attracted to her, and in doing so, she would just, I don't know what she'd do at that point. I don't think she'd really thought it through that far.
That's the worst superpower ever.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Like basically, you want to attract like murderers like to me, and then what am I going to do with them after that? You haven't got any like super strength to defeat them off, right?
Rapists, perverts, murderers, the lot, just all just coming towards it. Yeah. So if you could have a superpower, but it had to be a little bit shit, what would it be?
It's got to be a little bit shit. Is that the thing?
It's got to be a slightly shit superpower.
Wow,
let's think on that. Let's think on that and answer it next week.
A little bit shit. That just adds it. Doesn't be like, oh, I want superhuman strength, but no.
And the name of it as well.
Because I was Magnet Sucker Woman.
Because she was Magnet Sucker Woman. Okay, right. So we've got that for next week.
Find the best answer for you, and then I'm going to get James Pointer to create a meme of my head, like on Aquaman's body, like I can talk to fish, like who really wants to talk.
Okay.
So that kind of thing, and then I'll get him to do it for Natty Muscle Radio episode 18.
And if James Pointer wants to find a picture of Cara Bevan and put her on a superhero and call it Magnet Sucker Woman, that we're going to paste all over social media, then that's fine.
Just
right.
Legs out of go to bed for fuck's sake.
Natty Muscle Radio.
There's always another level.
Bye.
Bye now.